And believe you me, I sit down now here and I'm like, but the things I used to worry about, they were useless.
They're useless.
We don't want people who are going to calculate diameters of 1 kilometer. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
You're going to go and do all of those things and nothing's going to change.
And I'm not a prophet, but I can tell you right now.
Yeah.
That drive is going to come back. You know, there's a state that you go in after some years and you realize like there's no movement, there's no shifting. You're just waiting for pension.
Yeah.
You start diving deep into a state of depression. I should have just allowed time to pass and allow myself to be in the industry and learn more. Yeah. Even if you do things repeatedly, you know, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, you will see the benefit of that in future. Yeah, sorry, man. How's it, my brother?
Good, Mr. Pops, man.
Yes,
it's good,
man. Yes,
it's
man.
good seeing you, my man.
Yes,
yeah,
brother.
Welcome to the Engineering in Africa podcast. The whole idea of the Engineering in Africa is to basically share like the engineering experience of different engineers from Africa to the world. And you know, like the first episode that I completed this morning was a guy was a DRC who's working in the Czech Republic, and there's an obviously that content would appeal like to someone who's a DRC and they want to get out and come to SA and go to Europe or whatever. And I think like on your case, like, you know, having spent like a lot of time with you, I know you've got a lot of wisdom that's in your head. And I think like it's about time that we document some of this wisdom. And once we document some of this wisdom, and then we share it with the world, man, so that people know what's happening in South Africa, you know, what's the mentality of the engineers in South Africa, you know, and also for engineers who are in South Africa to sort of have an idea of like what's possible, you know, and be motivated and inspired, you know. So as I said, like it's we're having a chat, my friend. I hope you've got your coffee. I've got my coffee here. Dream big.
Now I've got my 2-liter water. I made a dietitian. He said I must drown in a 3 liter per day, you know?
Yeah. Let's do this.
Yeah, my brother.
So, but before we get started, who's Itumeleng? Where are you from? Where did you grow up? Where did you study? And just let's start like your journey from like who you are from like high school to varsity, like how, like what sort of challenges you had going into varsity, and then we will then from there take it from varsity to working life. Like how did you maneuver that? And like I think, as I said, like over the phone, was to say, can you also like, you know, talk about, you know, like like what do the younger engineers have to do to actually you know, like succeed to the level that you've succeeded, you know? So just give us like your background and your accolades and so forth.
Well, my name is Itumeleng Mmutloane. Born and bred in Northwest, township called Itumeleng. So basically I went to, because this is much more oriented around career development and all that, I attended township schools from primary school. In actual fact, even my daycare was in the same township, primary school. By then, we were not having primary, secondary. It was like primary, middle, high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's always that second-born child between the first and the last born. He's always feeling misplaced and lost in the process. So there was that middle school era. I think at the time we were calling it standard 5, standard 6, standard 7. So I attended all my schooling in Itumeleng. It's a small township outside Mafikeng. And after matric, I must say I was a very active child. Growing up, I was doing sports, a lot of athletics, running for the province, and professionally. In actual fact, everyone thought I was going to be a professional athlete after school. I had a lot of offers of going to do sports management at Potch University. There were a lot of offers and scholarship that came my way at the time. I remember very well in matric, I was also very passionate with music. Actually, I used to play piano in my church. I also thought, hey, maybe I can go and do music. Who knows? I might be the next Hugh Masekela. All these things about career. But I'll tell you one thing. I I don't know whether to say I found engineering or engineering found me. But I went into this simply because I had good grades. I don't know how I got good grades because I was always out going to play cricket or athletics, But I did very well in my mathematics and physical science at the time. It was called physical science. And I remember very well. I went to Wits University because I had applied for many things, and one of them was mining engineering. I don't know whether a lot of people will like this, especially the mining engineers. But when I went to the School of Mining Engineering in Wits, one of the professors said, hey, you've got good grades, man. Why don't you go and do something serious? Only now I'm angry at that guy. It looks like the mining engineers have got more money than mechanical and everyone else. So what was regarded as something that is not serious is the high paying, in the industry. These days, the mining engineers are killing it.
Killing it, eh?
So, I looked around and I was like, okay, fine. What am I going to do now next? My second option, I don't know whether it's still the case now. There's this thing of first option, second option, third option. And my second option was like mechanical, But I found myself going to University of Natal. And when I got to University of Natal, I had good grades to start first year. But for some reason, they put me through what they call a bridging program. But understand, there was a strategy with that. I had to grab the bursary from one of the steel manufacturing companies. But they put me through a whole year doing a bridging program. And it was called Unite at the time. And a lot of engineers in the country, they know about Unite.
I think UJ had a similar thing. One of those like 1 year. But sometimes some of the lectures you actually attending with the real first years.
Yes. By the way, I did that Unite program, and because after 2 months you realize it's like I'm doing matric again. It's just that it's a matric of Model C schools. Because I was like, no, man. I'm doing the same mathematics. It's just that now it's like, it's a little bit more university. I was attending with the first years. And I found myself like topping the whole first years at the time. I've got the certificate here because I was like, okay, this was basically first year. It's just that it's delayed. So what it meant is that I was going to spend 5 years there as opposed to 4 years. So was introduced to technical drawing at the time. We did the mathematics that was done by the first years, the physical science, the chemistry. We're doing a lot of first year subjects. But we were, So, but anyway, I must say I was disappointed because I did not do my research. Where would I do a research at the time? Because I did not even know the computer first year or internet. I was just taking what everyone was telling me. I got to university and they said, hey, you two, here's Unite, my man. If they, this is a year where you will decide whether you want to do chemical or mechanical and go to the industry, those things. And I did my Unite, and I think I knew right here and there that I was going to do mechanical because during our first year vacation work at it was Evra's Highfield Steel. At the time, it was not Evra's; it was still Highfield Steel. We went there and we were fascinated by the hands-on, the overall, the hard work, getting on the mills, the ball mills, and all that. So I decided that I was going to do mechanical, but I must say things were a little bit lighter for me now because it was like bridging between matric and university. So I did very well. I did my mechanical like every other engineer, my brother. We had our challenges, you start dating at school, first year, second year, and your academic, it starts now adopting that style, But I did my university and I finished my university, for all these young people who are, are in university doing engineering, you know how it goes, man. But there's a time where you start going with momentum, your third year, your fourth year, you do your project and you finish and you pass. But I must say, just when I was about to leave university, the professors in mechanical at UKZN, they asked me and gave me an offer and say, hey, dude, don't you want to stay and stick around and do masters, man, because you're doing so well academically, we've got this grant, we've got this, maybe you can, Hey, my man, young boy, thinking of a verpa. I was thinking, my man, I have no time to reject all that. I'm going to work.
You need the
that's
money.
How, only now I start thinking, I probably would have been a professor or something. But anyway, my brother. And I started working in Highfield still. It was because the company was closed. In Wheatbank, I actually passed there this December when I was going to my vacation. And I'm like, hey, man, I used to be here. It's unbelievable.
Are they not called ArcelorMittal? Were they not bought by Arcelor or what?
Oh, yes. I think it was closed for some time. Probably, I don't know. I don't have facts on this, but I think certain portions of it, like your mailing plant, I'm not sure, honestly, ever since I lived there. But you're quite right. I think the facility, it's like not the whole of Highfield, probably certain plants. And I had some people saying, it's like now an industrial area where, people are opening workshops and all that. I don't have facts on that. But I must say, starting the career there was quite good for me because it was much more of a hands-on experience. We say for the first 2-3 years, you're not going to do your Laplace transforms and engineering, so-called design. You need to work with the foremen and artisans and get to aesthetic. We don't want people who are going to calculate diameters of 1 kilometer. Come on.
Must get your head straight, man.
You know what I mean? I mean, there was a time where we could look at a pipe and just say, there's a 4-inch, that's a, X number of inches because of, it was tangible. You could feel it, When you go get a clamp at a workshop, you just look at that pipe, already you know the size because exactly. You need that experience later on in your engineering life and later on in your engineering practice because you'd be able, to make judgments, decisions, because you have felt it. You know what is the size of a compressor that can do a certain amount of work. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you. Now
so
tell me something. Sorry to cut you there, man. Tell me something. So you're transitioning from varsity to working life. You had a bursary already.
I had a bursary going into university, yes.
Yeah. Also,
and I had to work back.
Okay, so you didn't have the challenge that like a lot of graduates or some graduates are having, where you've got this degree, now you can't get a job. So you just from varsity, boom, first day, here's a paycheck coming in and so forth. Yeah.
Let me tell you, my brother, back in the days, there was so little of us at the time. The competition, it was not like now, we had bursaries. We started working from first year. We had vacation work in June vacation and December for the remainder of my schooling days, you know what I mean? So immediately after that, you were obliged to work. And I'll tell you now, it has its pros and cons because at the time I felt like, I want to join this industry now. I wanted to go work, but I had no choice but to work back. So it was a blessing in disguise, but at the same time, because we were spoiled with a lot of choices, it's unlike now, my brother.
Because I agree. Because I think I agree with you that like right now the competition is very high, and I think like it's a couple of things. Number one, there's more like black kids who who are going for engineering, and now even if the companies are trying to do this transformation and saying we're giving bursaries to the black previously disadvantaged kids, it's still a challenge because now there's like a huge amount of these previously disadvantaged black kids who are joining that system. And now I think this is, so I think the industry did not catch up in terms of funding and bursaries, versus the amount of kids who are coming in.
I mean, the times now are different from the times then. Now, my brother, I'll tell you, the way there is oversupply of a lot of skills. I mean, there's this thing that, engineers are in demand, but there's still high rate of unemployment because there's a lot of engineers not sitting at.
Exactly. Like even artisans and, technicians and whatever.
Exactly. So it's unlike before where we became very lucky. I mean, I did engineering because of my high grades. I did not know what mechanical engineering. In actual fact, when I went back home, people were like, "Hey, chief, my engine, my car, my, people don't know." I went back and I was fascinated fixing bicycles and chains because I studied chains in theory of machines, But now times are different. Right now, you really, really have to be. I mean, I worry now. I've got 2 little boys. I worry now about what type of careers they are going to do. And those careers, they should not be dependent on being employed.
There will be YouTubers. Don't worry. So now, okay.
And you're right. I mean, currently, I mentor quite a number of young engineers coming into the system. It's quite bad. I mean, it's not like before. Now, these companies are even just paying them stipends, no medical aid, no this and that, no that and that. They'll even tell you that it's for X number of months. You can just say these people are just doing compliance, just to
to say we meet the numbers,
Exactly. I mean, the graduate programs of other companies, my man, the guys are crying. After that time, they come back, and that's why you start seeing people now. It's a point I'm going to make later. I mean, we are a country that is so obsessed about qualifications and certifications. You start seeing this guy saying, I've got an undergraduate this, but now I'm studying. You know what I mean? Like, we just don't spend time in doing things that are going to change the economy because facing qualifications, and there's a reason for that. I mean, after you do engineering, there's no employment after 12 months of training. What do? You know what I mean? So
So now, okay, so you went to UKZN, got these beautiful marks, had to work back your bursary, obligation. Then from there you moved to ESCOM, if I'm not mistaken.
Luckily, like I say, those times I remember there was a time where ESCOM used to go and they'll set up a recruitment, whatever, drive in Midrand, and like the way jobs were in demand, you know what I mean? Like, would go and we'll queue, we'll get interviewed and get a job at ESCOM. That's how I moved to ESCOM. And it was before I even finished my work back. It was after 3 years in Haifa. I was supposed to work for 4 or 5 years. But now things were going very bad at Haifa. They were even allowing us to say, start looking for jobs,
Sure.
And I did not even apply for ESCOM, my brother. There was this drive at Midrand. I drove all the way from Witbank. I went to Midrand wearing my overalls. I stood there by the queue. You know what I mean?
Are you serious, man?
And I'm telling you, my brother. And
so you literally you went back. You went from Witbank. You went to Megawatt Park.
No. It was in Galaga. I think
Galaga. So there's like a whole lot of people on the queue. And then you just join the queue.
My brother, like jobs. it's like jobs were applying to us, not us to jobs. Like you just stand there by the queue, like you're waiting there by this hall. Okay, mechanical this side, and
you lie, my man.
I'm telling you, my brother, a whole lot of people got recruited through that drive. I remember it was in 2012. Yeah, and I drove back. It's like they even tell you right here and there. They remember there's no time now. There was a drive, and I'm not a prophet, but I can tell you right now.
Yeah.
That drive is going to come back. The way things are going in ESCOM, they will go back and try and recruit many engineers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we started in 2012, and most of the people I know and friends and all that, that's how they even started at ESCOM. 2012, there was a drive, campaign to recruit. We all went to the interviews, and we got recruited, and that's how I started my career in ESCOM.
Yeah.
But the beauty about working in these environments like your high-felt steel and your, like your smelters, where I started. I remember during the interview, the guy who interviewed me was like, "Oh, you're actually doing exactly what I'm doing as a boiler engineering manager."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because now, where I'm from, we did not have like a system engineer, project engineer, maintenance engineer.
Yeah.
You were just called a section engineer. You were working with a budget. You were getting your hands dirty. You were running a plant, production. That side of the world, there's not even these systems of design, stage one. I mean, it's cut and join.
You keep it moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is that environment where you are allowed to do a lot of mistakes, where you learn and grow very fast? I mean, I'll tell you now.
Yeah.
My GCC and my PR range, most of the content came from that environment because I got so many things done because I had a budget, I had SAP. It was only my engineering manager who approves. There was no bureaucracy,
Yeah.
Goal, their signatures and all that. So I will think of a project to improve the plant, and I will propose it to my boss, and he's like, "Go ahead and do it."
Yeah.
Within 2-3 weeks, the plant has been upgraded.
And then you're moving. So I guess like moving from like Highfield to like an ESCOM, it was a culture shock for you. Was it a culture shock?
A culture shock, but a necessary shock as well, because now I get in this environment. They're like, "Hey, now we know you've done a lot of things this way."
Yeah.
Now, which is a good thing, because I mean, like, you need order in this. I mean, we cannot
just wake up and do whatever. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was a big culture shock, because now things were taking a little bit slower for a reason. Bureaucracy. I was not used to, like, you have to go present. You have to, what I mean?
Yep. So, but there was this concept that I think we've spoken about previously, the whole thing of the wrong things done right and the right things done wrong. And there's the right things done right and the the wrong things done wrong, And I think sometimes, I think a lot of like junior engineers, they get trapped into not understanding those different concepts. So you'll find that I've been doing a specific task in a specific way, therefore that's the right way of doing it, only to find that it's not the best way of doing it. Because I remember when you I don't know if you remember, you reviewed my PRH report.
Yes.
And when it came back, like it was it was full of red ink. No, Mchana. No, this, and for me, I think your review, it was a culture shock for me, because where I was working, the way that I wrote that report, it was something that was acceptable, And now, and I'm looking at your your standard was like, yes, man, it was on another level. So I think I agree with you. Like some changes are necessary,
Yeah, and one of the best skills that I've recently found out, that in this time of 4IR, I mean, we don't have time to talk about that. One of the things that people need to learn is to unlearn the things that they have learned, and that, my friend, is very difficult.
Another story.
You must be able to get in that cycle of learning, relearning, unlearning. I mean, it's not easy.
So now from ESCOM,
before you go to ESCOM, before I even go to ESCOM, my brother, because you know when you get into the industry and there's no proper role modeling, you end up just gripping this, that. And I'll tell you now, I mean, I ended up studying masters when I was in Highveld, masters in engineering management, because there's a drive for certification, there's a drive for qualification. I see that whoever has it, I'm doing it. You know what I mean? 10 years later, I said to somebody, that master's is an FYI in my signature in the email. You know, I have it there. I have it. It's packed there. You know what I mean? So I got my MEng at the time between Highveld and the transition. And it's only that time you start realizing that there is a difference between the industry, like the practical side of things, and what I can impact, and the academic. You know what I mean? Because one of the professors said to me, Itu, you need to know one thing. Not every industrial problem warrants as a research problem. My man, I struggled to come up with my dissertation. Top, you know what I mean? And only then I started realizing that we tend to give 50% to our work and certain things and not impact fully and actually change things. Because we're multi-focused, you know. I want to do this certification. I want to do MEng. I want to do this. I want to do that. My man, I nearly did MBA at the time. You know what I mean? So role modeling and mentoring. It's
a big thing, eh?
That's something that there's a big gap. So it's like I was on, I don't know what they call this, auto mode, or like, my man. I nearly even registered at UNISA to do BCom in something, you know.
Didn't you want to do BCom accounting?
But
at some point,
you know what, my man?
Thinking, no man, if I know accounting, then I can be able to understand these books, you know?
and funny enough, one of the chief operating officers in Highveld, you know, he used to like me, that guy, because I used to push, and he once called me to his office and he gave me a book written by Goldratt. The title of the book is The Goal. And he said, "My brother, I'm giving you this book. It's a gift, you know, from me to you." I was leaving Highveld at the time. And that guy had an MBA, by the way. And he said to me, "You know, Itu, I won't mention his name, you know, very old, experienced guy." He said, "I only realized now that the CEO of this company, he's the one person who needs an MBA." Because he was guiding me this time. Remember, he was guiding me. And he was like, "I wish I had done this, that, and that, and that." And understood him at the time, because the environment we're in, it was much more about continuous improvement, lean, you know, those Six Sigma, you know, those things. So he was trying to guide me to say, if you're going to stay in this industry and you want to actually, you know, become the best, an expert, a leader in the country, set your mind around this type of things. You know what I mean? Because I've been doing this for 20 years. I've got an MBA. It's parked there because the CEO can use it. But for me now, I see, if I had this specialized knowledge of this and that, remember, we're in the production space. I would have been doing wonders. My man, that guy, he really got me thinking, because he planted a seed at the time. And I realized that, you know what, I cannot study everything that is there in university.
That's correct. But
I need a focus.
But I think 2 points. The first point is having these qualifications and certifications that are in your email signature, for the purpose of, by the way, you know, and and actually vis-a-vis having or pursuing these certifications for something more practical, you know, like something that you've mentioned as you were speaking, like, you know, engineers need to be more practical. And I think right now, if you check, there was at some point, I think even now it's happening, there's this huge drive of people, I want to get my PReng, I want to get my GCC, I want to get my PMP, blah, 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 only to find that you're going to go and do all of those things, and nothing's going to change. Like you
Yeah.
know, whatever idea that you thought that if I get all of these things, then I'm going to get that promotion, or I'm going to get that the next job. And there's a lot of guys that I speak to who are frustrated. They've got their GCC 40s and they can't get GMR2 positions.
So, and you know why? Mm-hmm. You know why? And I always say, look, you can't just shoot, there's this thing of shoot your shot or whatever. You can't just shoot and hope that you'll hit something.
Yeah.
You stay there and you want to pursue this thing of like GMR2. And you know what? You need to be focused. You need to start first with 2.7. At the time, you need to perform. Yeah. You need to be hands-on. The management need to see that this person is passionate about what he's doing with regard to this content, GCC and all that. And you need to get a GCC and you need to park there. It's fine, to park there while you wait for your time, for your moment.
Yeah.
Our problem is, I'm telling you, the reason why we don't get it right. Mm-hmm. At the time you want to do GCC, your mind is with PRN, your mind is with PMP. You cannot even perform for management to see that this is a rising star in this particular, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
After you get it, your mind is already now writing a report for professional something. You don't even see the value you are adding, you know what I mean, in the company.
That's
because you are forever
just chasing. Yeah. But I guess would you not say also like going hand in hand with what you're saying with the role models? Because I think like if you've got like some sort of a role model, then it sort of frames your goals, like what do you want to really achieve, So if your role model is Mthethonyati, for example, right? CEO of Altron, right? So you look at Mthetho and then you're like, oh, okay, he went the whole business route, MBA route, then that's sort of now your goal, right? But now I think what you're saying also is that because there's no role models, there's no clear goals, and
there's no clear path. There can be a clear goal.
Yeah.
But you might find that the path, and I'll make an example for you. I mean, I've got everything that you're mentioning there, PRN, GCC, MN, and there was a time where I had to hold myself and be like, whoa, stop, where are you going? What are you doing with everything that you have? And the thing about the industry is you can only use one at a time most of the time.
That's right.
I'm employed as a chief mechanical, and it's much more on the construction and the design space.
Yeah.
I can have GCC there as a for your information.
Yeah, for
I'm employed to use my PR, you know what I mean?
That's correct.
And one thing that we don't see is that I can the reason why we don't have people who are leaders in the field, especially in South Africa, like most of us, like people that we grow up with, is because obviously we jump. We're from here. After some time, I'm going to practice now as a GMR 2.1. Remember, I'm leaving the design space. No? But you'll find that one person who's been pushing and focused and staying in the path because he's got a clear path. 10, 15 years later, that person, my man, is a hot and wanted person because he's specialized. And I've got a friend in Japan who usually tell me about how these guys go in terms of their career progression. You understand?
Yeah.
So the beauty about this is because we are here now to share our experiences. And I mean, it's not like we've been here for 100 years. But we can see that, but you know what? Time is going and we are forgetting that there's a lifespan. We're busy pushing qualifications as if like we're going to live forever. And you realize, as an engineer, I want to die one day and they say E2 has developed this or has impacted the community with this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you realize that, oh my word, I'm not going that direction. Actually, right now, I'm just holding on, my income and the certifications that I have.
Yeah.
That's why we don't get drive of innovation. We're only saying it, my brother, in the industry, but it's not happening.
But it's not happening.
And it's not even supported.
Yeah.
It's not even supported.
Because we keep importing, like not all, but a lot of the innovation, like it gets imported. Like I don't know, because I think that's also one of the things that's sort of influencing this Engineering in Africa podcast, to say, like, are we as engineers in Africa doing enough? Like for instance, I got frustrated with this whole vaccine story with COVID, right? And I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, like, really, guys, like all of these scientists and doctors and professors and specialists in in viruses and whatever, and we can't develop our own vaccine. Like for me, like, it didn't make sense. There's this professor who's world-renowned, a South African professor who's world-renowned for this whole virus. I don't know the technical terms, but the point is, here he is, you're telling me that you can't do like an antivirus. So now I take, not antivirus, what do they call it? Vaccine. Yeah. So now I'm taking that same concept and I'm looking at mechanical engineers. Like, let's talk about PRASA, right? So why go to Spain to design a locomotive and then and then bring it to SA, and then it doesn't work, whereas you've got a Transnet that theoretically or previously did its own designs. Why let's look at Kusile, let's look at Modupi. Like, previously, at least from what I know or what I've been told, Eskom used to do its own designs and build its own power stations. I stand to be corrected, but that's what I've been told. And like, I don't know, like, it feels like we even the PR engines, it's just the FYI.
No, I mean, that's a fact, my brother. Nkululeko, my brother. Now that sounds like
my brother.
You know what, Nkululeko, my brother. The thing is, let's be honest. A couple of weeks ago, I sat down. I'm like, but as a mechanical engineer, we're thinking that there's no opportunities for product development and all that because we closed here. Recently I've been reading a book by Cal Newport called Deep Work. I think it's around here now. He says we get caught up in shallow work, the work that can actually be done by everyone else. And you think you are a hard work. I mean, you just go to work, you work on spreadsheets, you send emails, you have meetings. We don't get involved in deep work. And he explains deep work as a state at which the things that you produce when you're in that state, people will come look for you. You don't even have to a social media account. They will come and look for you because you have produced something of novelty, something that is
extraordinary stuff. Yeah.
So I mean, like, to log into a design software and do that's shallow work.
Yeah.
So, but the reason why we don't get in a state of deep work, I mean, we look at Bill Gates. He takes what we call think weeks. I don't know how many times annually, where he just goes and separates himself and he reads and he dives deep. We don't get that. You know what I mean? Because I'm obsessed about the next certification. I'm obsessed about, and I'm exhausted. I've been on standby the whole night, sleeping 2 hours, like, because I want overtime pay. You know what I mean?
That's right.
That's why you'll find young professionals, men, are drowning, depression, alcohol abuse. Like, there's so many things that we go through because, there's a state that you go in after some years and you realize, like, there's no movement, there's no shifting. You're just waiting for pension.
Yeah.
You start diving deep into a state of depression because you cannot actually be innovative anymore. You cannot, I think I've reached that state because even when I look at PNet, I'm like, what do I apply for now? Like, you know what?
Yeah, I got you, my man. I got you.
For some reason, I was like, maybe I must do a transition to politics now. Maybe I must be because we
role
allow
models.
ourselves to get we allow ourselves to get to that point of stagnation. And once we're there, I mean, there's a time where I've got guys who send me emails, my brother, and you look at the certification, like my brother, like all the certification, all these qualifications, and like the guy, you can tell like there's nothing more to do now, except this guy might just do medicine now. He might do medicine part-time if there's such a thing. But he's just going now, you know.
It's just going, like going through the motion,
going through the motion. So we need. I like this initiative of engineering in Africa, because we need to come back and say, guys, how do we revive and get that enthusiasm we had as 18-year-olds of saying we need to create, we need to develop, you need to be innovative, you know, and also push this thing of role modeling and mentoring. It's very, very important to say, my brother, you only can live up to so much in life.
That's
and
the thing.
This is the industry. Focus and get things right. I was talking to one of my guys that you can go now anywhere in South Africa and just pull engineers and look at their level of use of Excel. It's not even at entry level. The guy just does spreadsheet. You know what I mean? Because you get some people who come from other fields and they even operate Excel way better than most of us. Because we just don't dive deep anymore.
That's right. So I got you, Mr. Itu. Now I wanted to quickly finish off your career, and then ask you one or two questions before we close, right? Now, so now you got your experience there at Eskom. There was a culture shift, and then you moved to government. So now you are the chief engineer.
Yes, from Eskom, actually, before I come to my current position, I went to a local authority, and it was quite mind-opening for me, because I was moving from Eskom, high-pressure environment, you know, load shedding this, to an environment where it was like now municipality. They wanted to get professionals in the water and sanitation in Ekurhuleni. You know, it was a very interesting change for me, because now it's not much about you as an engineer, because you might even find that I was the only mechanical in my department, you know, like chief mechanical with PR. Now there's politics, there's this, you know, there's different dynamics, you understand? I mean, there's councillors, there's wards. You have
chief whips and
you know what I mean? So but even in that, I saw a very big gap, because you find that there are no systems of certain things, you know. You visit pump stations, there's still a big, you know, gap in terms of maintenance. But what sets us back a lot in those environments is vandalism, you know. Even if you come up with anything of believe you me, you won't even last for more than a month, because there's vandalism. So there's too much pressure, but services are very important, and it depends on who's the party that is governing at the time, you know. We have to keep pushing. I mean, we had to go through Friday trips with the mayor to different areas, you know, and make promises that, hey, you'll get water next week, you know. You get the water, you get the water, like opera. So I only lasted for a year there, my brother, but I must say, it opened up my mind, because I left the plant environment now to a city, you know. Much as the technicality of it, I mean, there we're dealing with small pumps to pump to, you know, different sections, you know. But your viewpoint now, it opens up. So that's why I'll always advise, if you get an opportunity to come into the local authority, just grab it, you know. It opens your mind. You start seeing, and, you know, when I was in Eskom, we used to talk about PFMA, you know, but it was a little bit distant from me, you know. But when you get there now,
now you can feel it. You can feel it. Ne? I get PFMA is that Public Finance Management Act.
My brother, the day the Auditor General came to me, and that's when I realized that this thing is real. It's not just TV. I think what it gives you now, it gives you the political landscape and economic landscape of the country. Now you start seeing that engineering, like exercise, we hold paramount. I forgot that statement, but in terms of the public safety, public health.
Yeah.
Because when the sewage was not moving, and they will tell me, if you are a professional, remember your responsibility. I would wake up because I understand that the sewage is flooding people's yards in Brakpa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I only spent a year there, and I left because of my own reasons. We can discuss them offline. And and I came
then you moved to Gauteng,
Gauteng Provincial Infrastructure Development.
Yeah.
And also, it's a province now. It's no longer a municipality.
Yeah.
I'm looking after education facilities, the mechanical scope of that.
Yeah.
As well, you start understanding the impacts that we as engineers can have in that space. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because it's all about it's all about service delivery, right? And
it's all about service delivery, my brother.
Yeah, and I think like it when us as the public start saying, hey, this government is useless, they're not doing their job, they're incompetent, now you're feeling it now.
You feel it.
It's closer to home. Yeah, it's closer to home.
Even now during COVID, I think the especially when we were starting, you were starting to get calls that, hey, you need to run around the buildings and check in terms of the HVAC, our office spaces. We need to convert certain classrooms to quarantine. Like, I've got a friend who's in the health department. He feels it. I mean, you watch TV, you might just see him even passing there. You know what I mean? So it becomes real now. You start feeling, you start working very close. I mean, much closer. When I was in ESCOM, probably I never even saw the premier or the MEC of whatever, because I was locked in
the CEO or the board chairman or whatever.
So now you work very closely. You hear there's an MEC going to your sites. There's a premier doing this. So it starts opening your mind, and you start seeing, things that you could only see them on TV, portfolio committees and all that. Now you are impacting those things.
Yeah. Now, right. So before we close, I want to ask you 3 questions.
Yes.
Sorry, not 3 questions. I want you to list 3 things. So the first one is, when at the start of your career, what are the 3 things that you regret, like, or you would have done differently, like either regret or you would have done differently in your, like, in the early days of your career, say the first 3 to 5 years?
Okay. I think the the things that I would have done differently is obviously, like, get a proper mentorship and create a proper path so that I don't become scatterbrained.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. I would have done that, because I probably would have been a CEO of a certain, I don't know, plant somewhere, or a smelter up there, So I moved from different industries. It has its pros and cons. But sometimes I look there and I'm like, hey, probably had I sticked around longer, we'd be talking different on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
And I must say, I still get calls from, some of the people in the steel where I used to work, asking me what happened after my career. And you can see they like, oh, you went to ESCOM, and government,
Yeah. And then number 2, what number 2, what something that you would have done, like, you regret, or you would have done differently?
I think as well, in the first 5 years after I graduate, I probably would have spent 5 years, focused at my work in terms of the practical, and not, I probably wouldn't have even done masters, in engineering management later. You know what I mean? And that talks about the path. I probably wouldn't have been confused about GCC, PRN, certificate of lifting.
Yeah.
So I think I decided on many things too early. That's why I've got decorated CV, I probably would have stayed longer. and we forget that when you do a lot of things, they also take time from the experience you could be gaining. I probably would have done that and staying longer, actually getting the practical experience and all that would have helped me to decide later that I want to venture into design. I probably would have now studied a certain, or probably revered and did my PR, or, so I would have done that. And the third one, I think we when you are young, you go with emotions as well. You move from this industry to that industry to that industry. But we forget the networking part of it.
Okay.
Because of the excitement of, I say to people, change is overwhelming, So I sometimes sit down now, I see people I started working with, they are reaching out to connect on LinkedIn and all that. But it's not the same, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But 12 years later, like now, I still think there are many connections and networks that I lost over the years from my day one that probably I could be using now, you know?
Yeah.
So when I moved from Highfield, out of the 100 people that probably were in my database, probably I still have one or two.
Yeah.
But I could have probably capitalized in investing in relationships, because that's what matters most later on in life.
Yeah. No, that's a great three, man. Like, so I think, like, a person who's in their first 3 to 5 years of working, I think they should have a very good understanding to say, get the right mentors, decide, stick around. So that has to do with perseverance and patience, right? Stick around, and the last one is what, have a path. So it's mentor, perseverance, have a path.
And invest in relationships and actually keep them.
Oh, sorry, number 3 is actually networking and relationships,
and retain them.
And retaining relationships.
When you're still there and after you left,
So in the next 5 years, what are you gonna do differently? Are you gonna stick around government or?
So now, very good question. So in the next, like going forward now, my brother, I've done a lot of introspection, and I've seen that, there comes a time where you realize that chasing the corporate ladder, climbing and all that, at the end of the day, you can only talk about things like I used to. Right now, I'm investing a lot in trying to see. I mean, like I'm studying this whole thing of learning data science, machine learning, because I've seen, even software development, those kind of things. Because currently, the way we're working, you look at how things are done in Singapore with regard to construction and other countries. And it's engineers who are coming up with all these solutions, things are starting to change. Currently we're still manually, checking drawings and saying not compliance with Sunscan 400, that window. Those guys out there, they just put all these things in a software, and it checks it for them, and it comes up with a report. There's a time where you realize that you cannot climb up until you are Jesus engineer or Messiah engineer. Chief, principal, all these titles, they don't work anymore. We need to add value now. And this is what I want to do. I want to get to a point where we look back and they say, Itumeleng Mmutloane has developed this, has changed this. We were talking about the softwares we use now in construction. Some of them, they are not even developed locally. We struggle to even buy licenses. They are very expensive. You know what I mean?
None of them. There's no, I don't know of any African drafting software. If it is out there, then they're not doing a very good job at marketing it. So
maybe
so we still that's why I think it goes to saying, us as engineers, we really really need to, as African engineers, we need to pull our socks up, because from the most basic thing, like software, if you look at your HVAC system, right, if you want to size your HVAC system, like all the softwares that are out there, or the ones that we really know, are not even developed in Africa. They are from the US or Europe, whatever. And I'm asking you, and I'm asking myself as well, like, what's stopping me from developing like those sort of softwares that can be, can be used in SA?
Recently I went to LinkedIn and I saw one of my friends. Maybe I'm marketing him.
Yeah.
And he's got a company, and one of the things that I saw which impressed me, he then developed this risk management software package, for and I played around with it. I could see that, oh my word, we could actually use this in our construction projects,
Yeah.
These are the kind of things. I mean, we've been working for more than 10 years now.
Exactly.
We have learned so much in Elsform, in many industries we've been in. Right now, we need to consolidate, because there's no need now to try to be hungry and until you are this principal of principals.
You understand? Yeah.
We need to consolidate the knowledge and say, how do we make things better?
Yeah.
And also again,
and localizing. I see. Even if you make them better, but also like localizing to say, oh well, this was made in South Africa, or this was made in in Nigeria, or whatever. You understand? So I think localizing, localizing
right now,
the tools.
You see, I mean, you look at these things of machine learning and all these things right now. You'll see we can have solutions that can help us even make cost predictions for us.
Yeah.
We don't have to sit down and do all these errors until we have all these compensation events.
That's right.
But most of these things, they are not even developed here. I mean, even if they are developed here, probably like you're saying, they are not marketed or they are not put out there to be commercialized.
That's right. Yeah. Because I think I was listening to Prof. Mawala, Maurao, to say that, Africa missed the first industrial revolution all the way to the third industrial revolution, and we should not miss the fourth industrial revolution. Like we
not at all.
we need to put our names in that head to say, okay, I was here and this is my impact, when it comes to this fourth industrial, you know what I mean? Yeah. So so Praitu, I think that was a great conversation. Thank you very much for giving me your time. And I think we're gonna have another session, because I wanted this session to actually talk about some of your philosophies, which
stimulate.
That are very stimulating, So I think let's do another one. Because I know you've got to zoom in some of these things, man. Like I know you've got a lot of great ideas and a lot of great advice for junior engineers and so forth. You know what I mean? Yeah. So man, thank you for being part of the first series of the Engineering in Africa. And I'm looking forward to having the final product of this discussion, and obviously we'll share it with you.
In closing, my brother, I would say most of us, like many of the young engineers, you sit down there and you like go through the motions. You are confused. You don't know what to do next. I mean, we've all been through that.
Yeah.
The only thing I can say is that just stick around. It gets better. It's very, very important that you don't allow yourself to start making decisions when you're emotional or when you're like frustrated about your employment. Just stick around and stay longer, because time goes. And believe you me, I sit down now here and I'm like, but the things I used to worry about, they were useless.
They're useless.
I should have just allowed time to pass and allow myself to be in the industry and learn more. Even if you do things repeatedly, it's okay. You will see the benefit of that in future.
I know, fully agree. Thank you very much, Ntate. And we'll see you on second part 2 of our discussion. And then let's unpack some of these things much further in part 2.